Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're digging into something pretty complex but really critical happening globally. It's this paradox in the international rice market right now in June 2025. And we want to look at what it means for a big player like Vietnam. We've got market reports, government stuff. Expert takes lots to sift through. Our mission, as always, is to cut through that noise, find the core insights, and maybe uncover some things you wouldn't expect. Okay, so let's start with the main puzzle. How can a country export more rice, but actually earn less money doing it? It just feels wrong, doesn't it?
It really does. And what's fascinating, or maybe worrying, is seeing how these huge global forces just, well, ripple right down. The basic issue is the market is just swimming in rice right now. There's too much supply.
Too much supply.
From where?
Well, you look at forecasts from bodies like the USDA, if it's the U.S. Department of Agriculture, and the FAO, the UN's food agency.
Right.
They're predicting record global rice production for the coming year, 2025, 2026. The numbers are huge, like maybe up to 555 million tons.
555 million tons. Okay, that's a lot. It is. And a massive driver behind that surge, it's India. They had restricted exports, but now they've loosened up and are back in the market in a big way.
Ah, okay. So India comes back online, floods the market. Suddenly it flips to a buyer's market. Is that what's happening?
Exactly. Think of it like this. India has these enormous reserves, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they can afford to set the price really low to move their stock. They become the price setter. We're seeing them offer rice for like $375, maybe $381 a ton.
Wow. That's low. So what does that do to countries like Vietnam or Thailand?
It forces them into being price takers. They basically have to follow suit or risk not selling. Their prices have dropped too. Vietnamese 5% broken rice, a common type, was down to about $382 a ton by late June. Very close to India's price.
Right. Okay. And this is where it gets really, really interesting for Vietnam specifically, because the numbers show they exported almost 8% more rice by volume in the first half of this year compared to last year.
Yeah, 7.6% more volume.
But the total money they earned from it actually sank by over 12%.
That's right, a 12.2% drop in value.
Which means the average price they got per ton just plummeted. What's that, like nearly 20% less?
Yeah, the maths works out to an 18.4% drop in the average price. They're working harder, selling more, getting much less back.
Ouch. And is that hitting farmers domestically too, or just the export balance sheet?
Well, it does filter down. The domestic market in Vietnam is described as stable but sluggish, kind of stuck. Farmers actually had a decent winter-spring harvest. Yields were good, around 72 quintals per hectare, which is strong.
So that helped them a bit, maybe? Kept some profit?
It helped maintain some profit, yeah. But without strong demand pulling prices up from the export side, the domestic prices just aren't really moving much.
Okay, so it's a tough picture overall.
Mm-hmm.
But I noticed something interesting, almost silver lining maybe, in where the rice is going.
Ah, yes, the destinations.
Yeah, because the Philippines, which is usually their biggest customer, right? Sales value there dropped quite a bit, over 17%.
That's right, a 17.4% fall in value to the Philippines.
But then you look at some African markets, Côte d'Ivoire demand surged, up almost 90%, and Ghana up over 60%.
It's a really stark contrast, isn't it? Côte d'Ivoire up 88.6%, Ghana 61.4%. And this, I think, really highlights the situation for Vietnam. It's this sort of dual reality.
Okay, explain that, a dual reality.
Well, the challenge is obvious. The profit squeeze, relying too much on traditional markets like the Philippines that are now buying less value-wise, but the opportunity that lies in this diversification we're starting to see, pushing into these new growing markets.
Like in Africa?
Exactly. And maybe even more importantly, it's about moving up the value chain, shifting towards higher quality specialty rice types, trying to escape that direct price war for the standard common varieties.
So becoming known for premium rice, not just bulk.
Precisely. Build a brand around quality. Vietnam certainly has the production capacity to do it. It's a strong foundation to pivot from.
That makes sense. It's a strategic shift then. So looking ahead, say the next quarter or so, what's the outlook? More of the same pressure?
I think the third quarter, yeah, we'll likely see that price pressure continue. You've got new harvests coming online globally, keeping supply high. But maybe, perhaps a slight improvement in demand. Eventually, big importers do need to restock their inventories. It might just be a gradual uptick, though.
Okay, so no quick fixes.
Probably not. The fundamental issue of oversupply driven by India's exports won't just vanish overnight.
So the big takeaway here seems to be just how tightly linked everything is in the global food system. One country changes policy and it sends ripples everywhere. And for a country like Vietnam, adapting strategically focusing on quality, finding new markets, that seems crucial when the tide turns like this.
Absolutely. Adaptability is key.
And maybe for you listening, it's worth thinking about how similar supply and demand shifts, maybe less visible ones, could be affecting other things you buy or use every day. It's often more connected than we realize, far beyond just a staple like rice.